daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always today, joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach Ingo Finch. How you doing, mate?
So. It was frustrating afternoon. Saturday, right? This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yesterday afternoon was, Saturday afternoon, was could have been a better day. My Saturday started off real good. It was a slight on my Saturday and annoyed me. So
Look, it's not a good result, but look, we knew it wasn't going to be easy. This Championship lark's not easy. It wouldn't be the best league in the world if you could comfortably win every game. That's not how it works, right?
Look, I said that Stoke were the league leaders for a reason, and they proved it. And it's pretty much all there is to it. But I'll get it right off of the start. Like we'll probably do another Championship roundup this week, but Coventry scoring 7, and we have the what? Another thing, Greg, how useless XG is as a stat. So we have the highest XG in this Championship. And once again, we have goal-struck defenders.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we mustered a whopping 18 shots, and when you think about it, that's 18 more than we had in some games last season. It's just unfortunate that they haven't, they've taken some of our advice and started kicking the ball in the right general direction. But what they need to understand is that you actually have to kick the ball in the goal to win the game. And, I feel like, look, obviously, as we all know, I wasn't at the game to suffer the full frustration and torment that comes with it, but I've watched back the highlights and I've had the reviews from the kids.
It was a good
and I just
game.
feel like we were a bit unlucky.
But the problem is that is where I think a lot of people land. It's where I kind of land, right? Is that we had a couple of clear-cut opportunities that our strikers did not put away. Jay Robinson hitting the post twice in the space of about 20 seconds, but not even 20 seconds, about 5 seconds was insane.
Really unfortunate.
Stewart putting the ball directly over the goal when it was harder. Again, what they need to start kicking it towards the ground and not up, because whenever they kick up, it never goes on target.
It goes over.
Down at the floor.
There were quite a few, but
Armour fell over at one point when he had got really good crossing.
There are definitely points of concern. It's just it still feels. I know that we're still building it up and getting there, and it's still this uncertain point in the transfer window. But I don't feel like it's completely killed our momentum. It still feels like we're shaky, but building it there. But man, there are definitely points of concern. I know that you've immediately sort of jumped and pointed fingers at strikers, but also when you're defending against 10 men, to let the goalkeeper throw the ball to the striker and then score, sorry, what? Just take the foul at the halfway line, please. Anyone? What were they thinking? It's just baffling. I mean, you and I both last Thursday watched the Rangers game and saw the counter-attack from Club Brugge when they scored what could only be described as a very similar goal against Rangers in the opening 2 minutes. And, I mean, tell me that the keeper literally throwing the ball to the striker, it's just madness to me that was allowed to happen and no one took a yellow at the halfway line and took the foul.
I think the biggest issue is why can't we ever do that? This is where the problem is. Why there is just no. I think I summed it up in the 3-word review of lack of urgency. Right towards the end of that game, again, I don't know how much of Russell Martin ball is still in these players to just consistently keep trying. Well, the thing is, they didn't even try and keep possession. Some of the passing was just shocking. But it wasn't a really bad game. The first half was very, very end-to-end stuff, and we could have easily we missed a couple of sitters. But the problem that I have, Greg, and the reason that it's cause for concern is the personnel haven't really changed much as we wanted it to. When you say, "Oh yeah, we're just a bit unlucky," there were so many games last season where we could have said the same because we didn't take our chances. And we don't have the players at the moment who are willing to take that chances. Armstrong being this out of form is incredibly worrying.
Man, they all
Because
really need a goal, man. Like
they
for
all just
all
need
of
a
our goals to
confidence
be
boost.
centre back, like they just need that to bring him in. But look, I mean,
How are they? They're gonna. They
we
need.
talked a lot last season, right, about how often when we had Cameron Archer on the ball or on the pitch, we were trying to cross the ball into him, and then when Tall Paul came on, all of a sudden we stopped crossing the ball. And I have to say, I don't know what it was
Same
like
thing, right?
after we brought on Downs and Stewart. I know we had a couple of chances, but I managed to watch a 15-minute spell in the middle of the game while we were 1-0 down. And we just kept putting high crosses into Adam Armstrong. Now, I'm not being funny. Stoke centre-back, 6'4". What are we doing? Like, it doesn't take a football genius to see that there's a mismatch that's not going to come off to our advantage there.
Yeah, you're right. Early on, straight away, on the first minute, managed to get a shot off. And then later on, he manages to get a ball off of Fraser where he strikes it to the side netting. And then there was at one point where he literally just fell over. There was a couple of people that I saw criticise Fernandez. He played more of a defensive role in that game. The amount of
Will
times
still
he
come
managed
out
to
and
get
said
back.
that he sees him as a number 8. So,
Yeah, the amount of times he managed to come back and save us was unreal.
but that's because the only people that that's because part of Will Steele's system is to push the centre backs up to sort of force the overload in a way that they aren't expecting. So it kind of makes sense that he's one of the sort of fitter players who's going to run. He's going to be one of these people doing those recoveries.
It feels almost like just some of the game yesterday, like the things that were bad. It almost feels like an infection, right? Like last season's just still in some of them, and I felt bad for Wood because Wood had pretty much what I would consider the game of his life. He played solidly. He was the prediction that I thought he'd go into the starting lineup. You were a bit rare. I was, he ended up being, as 2 predictions I got right, by the way. The international player that, you thought you were worried was Matty Fernandez was
actually Yuki.
Who has been told, oh, by the way, you need to play in the top 5 leagues to get into the Czechoslovakia's Japan national squad, which is mental. But so that wasn't great. Obviously, we had the new guy come in. I was very surprised that we brought on right back in. I mean, arguably they play as wing backs, right? But there was a lot of weird things about it. Like I'm not going to criticise Steele necessarily.
That's a sensible change because of all of the positions on the pitch, that's got to be the leggiest one, right? Like,
true.
That makes sense. It's a logical change. Throw something different on. He's sort of, a wing back, so it's sort of an attacking threat, but it's also just fresh legs in a position that is a hard run.
It's very, very saintsy to not take our chances and get punished for it, right, in a silly way. And like that's the problem is that I don't like the fact that that's still in our game. So that level, we had so many good chances in that first half that I think a lot of people are forgetting about. Like as I said, Armour had a couple of chances at one point. Armour literally slipped over. It's almost like you can't pick it up. You just fell over. And then there was a Taylor Harbour-Bellis header that was absolutely incredible. And he was denied. That was at the start of the second half, but that was just a really, really good save, right, from their keeper. Wood had an injury early on. Wellington's injury. I think the injuries that took place in the game slowed the tempo for us massively whenever we were, and then their time wasting we'll get onto it a little bit, but to be clear, like you were talking about how annoying it was, if we were in the same boat we'd be doing all the tricks of the trade, so I can't really blame them too much. But
I mean, the memory whenever I moan about it, to be fair, always flicks back to that Ryan Bertrand throw-in where he throws it off the pitch and checks his watch. But all right, look, we've successfully waffled through segment 1. We'll try and rope it back into some form of structure. But first, a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body.
All right, mate, and we are back. Let's try and rein it in a bit. Let's go back to the start and start with those lineups. What did obviously you called Quasi out for Wood and Harwood Bellis starting. I mean, other than that, the team lined up more or less how you expected, right?
Yeah,
more or less what we said.
Pretty much, Robinson. I still don't know how I felt about Armstrong sort of being left on his own. I think me and you both have an opinion on that. And
I fully agree. I mean, look, we said it in the preview, right? That they're strikers that are profiles and different profiles, and frankly, they're going to work best when we have one of each on the pitch. And that is, one of Stewart and Downs, one of Armstrong or Archer, and one of, not Dibden anymore, one of Jay Robinson.
Why? Yeah, well, obviously that's a concern itself because we might have had the Dozy to be able to play as a winger. We can talk about transfers and stuff towards the end. How do you feel about us playing quote unquote five at the back still? Because everyone seems to hate it, and I can understand why. We seem to always do better and get the ball up further when we play four, but then that last 10 minutes, I don't know how much of it you've managed to catch. I doubt there were a lot of highlights, mate, to be honest.
Look, I think calling it a five at the back is a blatant mistranslation of what it is, right? Even calling it a three at the back is not. It's not really the full story. When you look at where our centre backs have been, and you look at our scorers list to understand where they have been to get those chances, it's a fluid system, right? With the sort of where the midfielders are as much tasked with the tracking back as the centre backs, and they're sort of pushing up as a unit and back as a unit, supposedly. And I think that's probably why we've conceded, especially after a change, dropped down to 10 men. That's probably why we conceded what is, frankly, a ridiculous goal, because it's clearly just a miscommunication. Like, someone hasn't picked up the player that they should be picking up because they've overcommitted. And, it's clearly fluid. I think it's fine. I mean, I don't know what else you put out. I mean, he's been pretty clear in the post-match presser, right, that it's in the width going forward that they're struggling for quality. So what sort of other formation do you put the players that we have that are the best at in?
Well, I think this is where it comes to the other part, which people are already starting to get worried about, which, we've kind of glossed over and we've tried to... I think I still have a little bit of faith. We just had a transfer that came out of nowhere. I don't know if that was something that was in the works after Sugawara was told that he needed to be in one of the top 5 leagues. Whether or not he'll actually get that offer is not entirely up to him, really, or the club. I doubt that we're actively trying to sell him, but, they have definitely got somebody in that position that, we thought about without us knowing. But it is concerning because, you seem to be under the impression, and I know quite a lot of the fan base aren't, and I think some of our strikers need time. Downs needs time to settle. He just seems out of sorts. Might have been the fact that he's been ill.
That's why I'd have started him. You need to get him settled in the game and get him if it bounces in off of his shin and goes in, I just think that he's got it in him to go on and score 20 to 30 goals this season. I
think that was just because he was ill. The only reason he even got transferred on, according to Will Steele, was because Armstrong had picked up an injury to his back during the halftime break, right? So then, I agree. And Stuart was the same, is that it just, again, whatever, they've both managed to catch something at the same time, which is frustrating because they are the two similar profile players, but both of them seemed out of sorts and didn't seem to offer what would usually be the case. But the fact of the matter is, Greg, we can defend it all we like. The strikers are not scoring goals, and the strikers that have been here last season did not score goals. Archer was probably our most prolific striker with 2. Depends if you count Adam Armstrong. Bear in mind, I think one of his goals was a penalty and he was gone for half the season. So it's understandable, if we're not going to get those players in, then we need to increase the amount of chances, which means we need those wingers, we need that number 10. And if we are getting as much money as we have gotten for the different players, 40 million plus for Dibbling, it needs to be reinvested smartly. And the problem at the moment is that, they're talking about the loan market as well when asked about it, which is like, I'm worried if we've got all this money, why we're taking out loans on people. But it just seems
the problem
that
is that everyone wants a goal scorer, mate. So what makes us an attractive prospect over anyone else is the thing.
Yeah,
right?
But then again, so this is when it comes
into
the analytics and it comes into the way that they're doing business. And I'm fine with that, but it's the sheer lack of activity that I think has been a problem. And the fact that a couple of the things that have been proven to be correct, like us specifically targeting a creative midfielder who is in Russia, where it is extremely difficult by the sounds of it, those negotiations. I don't know. Nobody really knows what's going on. Armeni football is the only source that anybody is using. And he's a journalist that, quite frankly, wants that player out of that club. So I don't know what the relationship is there. But it's kind of like, are you telling me that there wasn't a better player that we could have targeted where we could have got something over the line earlier? Are they that determined for this one person? Because if they change late,
it's an interesting one, and look, I mean, it could be that they've gone in for. I mean, I know that we were reported last week to have gone in for Jack Rodoni and been rejected as well. Like, who knows how many players they've had initial contact with and just been shot away? You don't know is the answer. It's not as it's not as easy as that. And I mean, like,
not. I'm under no illusions, mate. But I think that,
and someone that's going to come in and be proven to score the goals, it's just.
It's not even that.
It's kind of like a rainbow unicorn, mate. It just doesn't really exist, does it? Like, I just need to sign a 30-goal a season striker. Oh yeah, it's just easy, isn't it? Just sign this, mate. Like, the amount of money that you're willing to pay, it doesn't make a difference. Like, you look at players, like just before recording, we were talking about Jack Grealish, and some people would probably consider his move to Man City not a particularly successful move. And the problem is that that's not a style that gels, because he's a player that wants to play football and he went into a Pep Guardiola system. Like, it's just...
Oh, the shade, mate. I get you, but I think what it is that, like, I tweeted out that the squad planning is an art thing, right? Yesterday, and it all becomes clear at the end. Okay, well, they've got 9 days to prove that we're not going to end up panic transferring somebody on the last day, like when we ended up with Cornet, right? And that is, I think, what my big fear is. And yes, we have a different regime. Yes, we have a technical director that's different this time. However, that doesn't stop the idea that these transfers are being far more difficult than they planned them to be, which means that why are we not planning for stuff to be this difficult when everyone can look around at the market at the moment and go, cool, this is hard. Like, look at Spurs, look at Newcastle as examples of good teams. So I understand that. Don't get me wrong, but it's don't get
good
me wrong.
Objective and not subjective. They're not objective. Oh, look, it's difficult, but look, they got 9 days to pull out of the bag. Let's see where it goes. But look, I've got a big elephant in the room to talk to you about.
Good.
But first, a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Alright, mate, the elephant in the room. Stoke having a player sent off for diving?
I mean, yeah. He picked up a yellow, and then he picked up another yellow.
The first yellow, arguably, might have been lucky to have only been a yellow. It was a pretty nasty challenge, right?
Yeah. So then picking up a yellow again. Yeah.
But was it? I mean, it was a dive. It was
he dived. So that means in front of the referee saw it. That means he picked up a second yellow card. That meant he was sent off.
If he isn't as flamboyant as that, he probably gets the penalty as well. Like,
maybe. But that's the problem, is he was flamboyant about it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. There's no VAR. He did it in front of the ref. What did he expect to happen? You know?
Very funny. How, other than that, was the referee in the game? Because I don't know what social media, obviously,
relatively
I've
fair.
seen a lot of Stoke fans moaning that we had him in our pocket. So
they picked up a lot of cards early on, but again, it was a lot of dealing with a lot of our quicker players. And I think that the only thing that you missed out on is, I don't know if Downs got carded in the end. I think our first player to get...
Mate. I can tell you that he didn't, because I put it on my bet. So standard procedure, I've reverse jinxed it. So,
It took 56 minutes, I think, for us to pick up a card, right? I think I remember Nathan Wood was the only person that really picked up a card, and that was
after the only one, yeah.
Yeah, and that was after we went 1-0 down. He was definitely they were definitely a bit wound up, and it was definitely him trying to make sure that the ball didn't get back. Because again, he had the absolute game of his life. Let's not I know that I mentioned it once or twice. I think I texted you the exact same text about 3 times during that game.
You did, yeah. It was like, Nathan Wood's having a brilliant game.
Yeah, it was in
my brief interlude at the show I was at, checking my phone, where was appropriate might not be the right word, but where it was possible. Yeah, got that a couple of times, but yeah, good.
So yeah, I think
it's just a shame that all of our players that are stepping up and seem to be doing all right seem to be centre backs. Like, we can't just play 5 centre backs.
I mean,
that's not.
At this point, mate, we'll just start replacing them up front. We've joked about it before. Genuinely, like, if they want to give it a better go, put them up front. Yeah. If we have 10 centre backs that will play enough to get, because ultimately, again, it's about winning football games, right? This is what has been talked about before, and that's one of the. You can tell that Will was trying to do that towards the end and making sort of offensive substitutions and trying to make sure. But the problem is like, you could have, I reckon we could have had all 4 strikers on the pitch at the same time. I don't think it would have made a blind bit of difference. I think, again, they're all severely lacking confidence, and I don't know what really sorts that out. Do you know what I mean?
Goal. Just a goal. That's all that sorts it.
The problem is, it's like, and ultimately, Greg, like you said, it's been a bit of a weird start to the season. Like, we're 10th and Pompey are 11th. Like, we are literally neck and neck with them in the middle of the table. To be clear, we are not having as...
Speaking of awful referees, if you watch any of the highlights from that West Brom Portsmouth game yesterday, they should have had at least 1 penalty, probably a red card. Like, they were. I think even Pompey fans will say that they were quite lucky to come away with a draw in that game. Truthfully,
to answer your question though, when it comes to the refereeing, is like Stoke had double the amount of fouls that we did, and a few more cards, and maybe those cards were slightly harsher than normal, and maybe we got away with it a little bit. But the fact that I'm not talking about the referee means that they weren't at least mean to us. And I don't really think they were that bad to Stoke. I think that when Stoke made fouls, they made fouls for a reason. But I think some of those fouls warranted yellow cards.
Yeah.
Whereas we, when we did get the ball on the front foot and up real quick, we weren't having to do anything silly. And luckily, Matty was there to jump back every time we lost the ball. But obviously, apart from the 2 occasions where, once again, a misplaced pass inside our own box, and the other one was from a set, because as well as scoring from a set piece, we technically also conceded from our own set piece, right? So,
yeah, if that isn't silly. The most sexy thing. Like, you mentioned earlier on about how nice it was, at least for Will still to be bringing off a centre back for a striker, and it is refreshing after like the last season to at least get some of that sense of urgency. I know you said it didn't particularly translate to the on the pitch performance, but
the transfers weren't the reason for that. No transfers, sorry. The substitutions weren't the reason for that.
But
the squad did not run.
But wouldn't it be nice to not have to chase a game at some point this season?
Yeah,
it kind of feels like that's
every
what
game
we've gone
down first.
Oh yeah, it's going to be tough. Look, we've got a whole week of football to put it right. We've got a cup game coming up as well, and everyone loves the EFL Cup. Mate.
We might not be first.
Mate, look, this bump is what makes the roller coaster the worthwhile ride, right? it's all coming into place. It's all going to happen. We knew the start was always going to be a bit shaky. It always is until the window's shut and we can properly settle in. By then, all of our strikers will have had a goal and we'll just be flying and we'll, cruise the rest of it. It's fine. Probably a couple of bumps along the way because there always is. But look, it doesn't matter. It's in the past now.
Okay.
It's a good win for Stoke.
It's a good win for Stoke, and it was. And considering Greg, you said and was worried it was going to be a really, really boring 0-0 game. Certainly, it was entertaining. More than anything, it was frustrating.
Yeah. Well, look, that is just about all that we have got time for today. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the comments or on the socials. We are on Facebook, TikTok, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, all of them. Give us a shout out. Let us know what you thought. We will be back tomorrow with a preview of our cup game coming up against Norwich. Until then, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you very much, Zach, for joining me, and have a wonderful day.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.